Hello, let's welcome Suresh Ramdas to QueerTWENTY, the cohort of 2021. He is the global training lead at HP. He is a corporate D&I advocate and speaker, and also the winner of Mr. Gay 2019. Thank you so much for joining us, Suresh.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's my pleasure to be a part of this.
So, Suresh, let's start with you have been working in the corporate for over 17 years. How has diversity and inclusion evolved over these years?
To be honest, there has been a lot of evolution since the start. The conversation initially, when it meant diversity and inclusion, it only focused on women, which was predominantly gender. But I'm super happy, with the whole globalization, with some of the key aspects that have really been happening. We have been starting to have conversations around persons with disability, LGBTQ plus, community people, even to an extent of war veterans as well. But I think, we need to start getting even more focused on, other conversations around be it religion, be it with region, and all of the other aspects as well.
So, at this point in time, what do you think are the three immediate things that need to start happening at India Inc. to accelerate all these types of inclusion?
First and foremost, from my perspective, three is quite a less, but I will think of top three. One of them being, I think we need to start Indianizing our conversations. What I feel right now is we are just taking whatever is happening outside India and then trying to bring it out here. I think we need to add the Indian flavor to our conversations and, bring in some ground reality, issues as well, so that it becomes more relatable. I think that is the first one. Second one is also have a mindset of growth. Now, to elaborate a little bit about it, it is to, have a mindset which is always on the growth aspect, saying that, no matter what you do, you're always in the, going upwards, even if it's okay to make mistakes because you're learning something from this whole process, right? So I think inculcating that is really necessary. And lastly is to tailor make some of these policies that we have, which is kept on a very global front. And a lot of conversations are very global. Can we tailor make it to India centric as well? Because there are some of these nuances and we are so diverse and inclusive, right, as a country. So we need to tailor make it to Indian needs. I would say these are the top three from my perspective.
Amongst many more.
Amongst many, many more.
Okay, it's actually interesting. The first point and third point both seem to point out the fact that what we're essentially maybe trying to do is copy the Western idea of inclusion, whereas it might not fit into Indian standards. Could you just tell us some of these nuances which makes the Indian context much more different?
Now, like I've already mentioned, before, we don't talk about a lot of intersectionality because India, like you said, is very diverse, be it with your languages, be it with the food, with the dialect, and, let's not, hide against the fact that there is caste issues as well, right? Even with regarding to women also, again, religion plays so much of a factor with different mindsets out there. Absolutely. So I think these are some of those nitty-gritty aspects and conversations which we really and definitely need to bring in. I think also with another aspect is the fact that we're not an English-speaking country, right? So with the lot of dialects that we have, now how can we even bring that intersectionality piece also in some of these conversations? So it is a lot to think about. And it is not easy with a population of 1.35 billion, what I would say. So we need to really customize it in those formats.
So are you saying that inherently the language that we use currently in English, there are such complex words, it is sort of elitist in nature?
It is, I would say. Wouldn't deny that. But, again, let's be honest, Britishers have really ruled us for 200 years now, and we have brought that whole concept that, English speaking people are the ones who are going to be elevated and all of that. So we somehow need to kind of, bring that off and, bring in more people who can speak language, which is not their, main language as English. They have other languages. So they definitely and very much know how to have conversations. It is just not the common language. So we need to accept and, evolve from that perspective. Because to be honest, if you go to any of the European countries, they don't focus a lot on English. Yes, it is a language, which is a common language, but also you need to take that extra effort to know their language as well, to be, included, to be welcomed, and, in a lot of ways, be treated as equal as well.
Essentially, we're stuck in the colonial hangover phase. So, shifting gears a bit, you have pursued the LGBTQ Executive Leadership Program from Stanford. For you, what is the current business case for LGBTQ executive leadership, and do you think India is falling behind?
See, first and foremost, it's just been 3 years since the scrapping of the law. Okay. It is going to take time. We are really not there, to be very honest. Secondly, I think people need to start being comfortable in their own skin about who they are, accepting their identity, and taking that conversation forward. I was very much in the closet for the last 17 years out of my corporate experience. I've been the longest. It's just been like 10 years I've been in the closet. It's only the last 7 years that I've really come out and accepted myself for who I am and all of that. So with that really coming in, it would take time for people to be their authentic selves now with the mindset that is happening, or with the current mindset as well. It is not easy to go ahead and at times be authentic self, because there are a lot of other nuances that really creep in, be it with acceptance, be it with your work, promotions, all of that really plays in. Top it off, even your mental health issues as well. Right, that is something that we as people, majority from the LGBTQ plus community people, have these issues because we have been tired of living two-faced, right? So, but I'm definitely sure things are changing. The reason being, there are various people coming up with programs. Something that I really, promote or even call out is the one that I have been part of, called Leading with Pride, where I was co-facilitating this with Dwight Cook as well, and he's continuing this journey while I had to take a back seat. But he's continuing the journey of developing leaders for the future. I mean, that is one of the reasons why I went to get this program or learn more about this program at Stanford, is how can we bring or have homegrown leaders in India. So for me, definitely we are targeting LGBTQ plus people, getting to allow them to be their true authentic self. And I believe this is one of the most important characters in a leader as well, is to be honest and be authentic. So give it another decade and you will see a many more out and proud leaders in India.
A decade.
Yeah, it takes time because it is not easy to grow up into that leadership position as well, right? Because for me personally, to see if you want to, see something in the future, it has an evolution. It has, the time that you really need to be there and grow. So for me, I would say the people who are in their 30s and 20s are attending, being a part of this, and, give it a decade and you will see many more is what I'm saying. Right, so the start of coming out and taking the leadership positions are happening slow and steady, but in a decade's time you will see many more.
No, that's amazing to hear. But within that time and now, we do see instances of, as so many other members of the community have pointed out, especially in the corporate world, we see instances of rainbow washing. So according to you, what is the heuristic for identifying such instances?
Well, there isn't any hard and fast rule, and to be honest, I think that is going to happen. most of the times it's not something in our control, but there are the things which are in our control. For me personally, which I feel is that you need to start questioning these organizations or these people who are targeting or saying that they are very inclusive of the community. I always, initially when 2018 judgment happened, and there were many people who just came out and put the pride flags in their logos or saying they're inclusive and all of that. And personally, me and quite a few of my other friends and colleagues also started, messaging them, asking them these questions. Hey, are you all really inclusive? This is amazing. First and foremost, always say this is amazing that you all are, talking about the LGBTQ plus community people, and you all are being out there supportive. Now, what is it that you all have done that we can talk to our people or friends or colleagues from the community and tell them that, hey, you know what, this organization or this company is also inclusive, right? But during those conversations, we get to hear and see, hey, it was just, we're celebrating. So I said, okay, if that is the case, then they need to be educated, they need to be more aware. I think they just went on with the fact that since everybody is doing, let me also join the bandwagon. So it is not easy. Like I said, it is going to be tough, but I think we as people and our allies should start questioning these motives and understand if they're really, doing the right thing, or is it pinkwashing. So call it out.
This actually brings up the next question beautifully. What are 3 things that you would advise somebody who wants to be an ally? Where should they start?
Okay, first and foremost, anybody who wants to be an ally for the LGBTQ plus community is know your privileges as a cis heterosexual person in this country and also in this world, that not everybody has the same rights as you all. First and foremost, understand, digest that and accept it. Secondly, what I would say is that take that extra effort to learn about the community. I know now that you all know your privileges and you say that, oh my God, okay, not everybody has the same rights. What can you do for the communities or people who don't have the same rights? You need to start learning. You need to start being part of some of these conversations, events, anything, be it online, offline, face-to-face, even better. But then with the pandemic, you really need to be very cautious, right? So choose and learn places where you can get to know more, like online events, be it, also your queer film festivals where you get a lot of opportunities to watch movies. There are a lot of organization and events happening out as well. And then if you get an opportunity to volunteer, please do. I think that is very, very essential, because you get to know what are the ground reality issues also that is being faced by the community. And lastly, I would say is don't be afraid. You all think that, oh my God, am I going to make a mistake if I, call this person incorrectly or judge them? Everybody's in this process of learning, right? Of understanding the community as well. It's okay to make mistakes. All I would say is that be authentic even in your apologies. Don't apologize, with the fact that you don't really have the intent. And once you apologize, move on. Before moving on, learn from it and move on and say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I've learned from my mistakes and I'm going to move on. Right? So yeah, I think these are the 3 things that I would tell anybody who wants to be an ally of the LGBTQ plus community.
No, I think these form the cornerstone, and just, saying, yes, I made a mistake and making an attempt to not make it again, that really counts.
That is also part of the growth mindset. That I was talking about is, what India incorporation really needs. Growth mindset.
Needs right now, yes.
It's okay to make mistakes, and to err is human, right? So go with that attitude and say, hey, but also I need to learn. Make new mistakes, but learn from them and don't repeat them.
All right. Okay, so Suresh, you won Mr. Gay 2019. Congratulations. But okay, so how do you plan to, or how have you been using the platform to combat homophobia?
Well, to combat homophobia, I think first and foremost, I was being out there, out and loud and proud. Every time I go ahead and introduce myself, I do say that I'm an out and proud gay man, and this is who I am. Right? So that is one way of representation, or one of the representations that I, as an individual from the LGBTQ plus community, is out there. Second, I always go ahead and give people the information about, what is it, why you're being homophobic, what is the reason for being homophobic. Make them aware. And a lot of people come back and say, hey, this is not an Indian culture. So I have to go back and tell them, hey, you know what, go back to your history, go back to prior to Britishers coming in. You do see so much of, queer history, queer culture in India, which has been thriving and being accepted. Give them that information, and if they still want to be homophobic, that is their choice, right? But then how can I, make sure that this information has been passed on? If they still make that decision of being homophobic, then, we need to find other places and other spaces how we can bring that down, tone it down. If it's in organizations, you always raise complaints or, bring it to the right people so that action is taken, because there have been certain things that have been done prior to this, right? And also, as an individual, if people are going through homophobia, they need to be armed with a lot of ammunitions in the form of support from within the organizations, be it even outside the organizations. And to top it off, they need to take care of their mental health, right? So if therapy is required, then that needs and definitely needs to be a part of it, so that they are feeling okay, or they're getting better with the situation that they face, and how can they really overcome that. So these are some of the few things I'm using my platform, and also opportunities like what you have been provided, that you're providing to people from the community is also another way to, shut down homophobia in its own ways. And corporates and, education systems also inviting you over to have conversations. So it's all about, creating and, spreading more awareness about the community, so that then they can make an informed decision.
Absolutely. So when you talk about all these efforts that are being made, and then clearly you do realize that a lot of it is a pressure, it is sort of a burden that we have to go there, we have to ensure that people, especially who are facing that kind of pain and the kind of unacceptance, what would do you feel dejected or disappointed with the pace of LGBTQ representation, inclusion, recognition, etc.? How do you process these feelings?
Well, first and foremost, I am definitely not dejected or rejected, point blank, because of the fact is, again, like I said, it's just been 3 years since we are no longer called the criminals in India, right? So it takes a while for people to, sink that in. And a lot of things have been going around also with regarding to representation, right? Recognition, yes, it is happening, because I think corporates are really getting into the conversation of LGBTQ, involvement, representation, and also supporting queer businesses and all of that. So it is somehow starting. With regarding to representation, again, a lot of mindsets have to be changed. They still think that it's a lifestyle choice, and it's something that can be cured. So all of that has to really shift, right? It has to change, and that doesn't happen immediately. Like I said, every time I bring up this point that India is quite huge. We need to take these small steps to build awareness. And I think media is also trying to do, though they falter in many places and a lot of times. But I believe, and I'm always an optimistic person, that probably they're learning from their mistakes, and they are not making new mistakes. I mean, they're not making the same mistake, but probably new mistakes, right? So, is the pace enough or not? I think it is very subjective for us to really answer, because for me personally, I am worried, fact that we look up to the West so much, to the progress that has been done in the current situation, but we tend to forget all the battles that they have had to go through prior to this internet boom as well. There have been a lot of riots, there have been a lot of fights, conversations, all of that somehow has now gone into books or articles which has not been read. Now everything is looked at in the form of videos and quick videos and stories and pictures. But they have gone through a portion of their struggles and it has been hard and tough, right? So when we look at that, we shouldn't want to jump forward to that spot or that space where they are, but we need to understand where we are today and take those steps in a very conscious and in a very progressive way as well. So for me, that's how I would look at it. All of a sudden, if you talk about representation and recognition, hey, India is there. There are a lot many more things happening. Yes, we need to recognize, but are we recognizing like how it happens in the West? I don't think so. That's a good comparison because we're leaving behind all the hard work and efforts where they were not recognized, where they were discriminated. After so much of time, now they're getting that recognition. Yes, we need to learn from it, but are we really there yet to even understand the whole process? Right? So I think it's happening in a slow pace, but I think any pace is good pace for me because any progress is good progress from my perspective.
This actually, you brought up something very interesting, that so many stories of struggle have been lost.
Yes.
Or is not focused upon as much. But then do you think that India right now, especially the young generation in India right now, is at a unique place where we have the internet and that has been on our side, and that it's sort of accelerating the process in some way?
It is definitely accelerating. I think people are beginning to understand themselves for who they are. They're questioning. There is a lot more content about who you are and where is it that you want to be and all of that. So it's a great thing. Like I said, globalization is really helping people to become more aware. But please, everybody should know that people who are on the internet are a very small portion of this entire country. Not everybody is on internet. Though the steps have been taken to make it a digital world or a digital India, but not everybody is still there. So there are people with old mindsets and not the right mindsets, while there are generations or the youngsters who are pretty predominantly on online and learning a lot. But we need to also guide them and help them in the right direction, because they see India as today and they're saying that a lot of things have not happened because they look up to the West and see there's lots many happening there. But we also need to give them the ground reality that things take time here to change, but they can also be more informed and they can take up these social causes and drive that change in their own perspective. Yeah, that's where I would say this.
Okay. So coming back from a global to a national to a level which is inherently personal, you said that in the 17 years of your corporate life, for more than half of it, you were in the closet. So what was the process of coming to terms with your identity for you? And was there a specific turning point or was it slow and gradual?
I knew about myself way long. When I was a kid, I knew I was different in the fact that I was not like every other boy in my class, but I didn't know what to give it a name, right? Because there was no internet that time and I didn't have access to information. So I was like, I'm this odd child or this black sheep among this whole set of white sheep people and all of that, right? But when I got to really understand or know myself and I was able to give that name also, was where I was able to accept myself for who I am. And I knew for a fact that I'm not alone in this world. There are many more people like me. So when I joined corporate, I was very much scared, to be honest, because of the fact is that nobody accepted and I was still a criminal as per the law. Right, so I was always very cautious, not wanting to be out and making sure that people really don't know my identity. I was faking it. I was, straight acting and all of that. And but deep down, I knew who I was. I was still able to connect to people who are from the community, get to know them, and feel very comfortable during the weekends. Weekdays was a struggle because I had to come to work, right? So I think that journey was, a little bit interesting. The turning point for me was when I came out to my parents, because for me, I felt that it is important for them to know who I am rather than them getting to know this information through somebody else. So I think that was my turning point. And after that, I felt, you know what, I don't need to be scared about anybody anymore. So that's when I came out to everybody, and I came out to the whole world as a social media post as well, as a Facebook live event. I think after that things have just been very progressive because I don't need to be fake, or I don't need to lie about myself. All I had to be worried or thinking about, I'm going to say the truth. And if truth hurts for other people, so be it, but this is me, and if you want to accept it, accept it, otherwise you can drop it. A lot of philosophical thoughts also really come in, is because for me, I felt that this is my one life and I need to really make it worth it and really go for it, right? I cannot start living life for somebody else. I need to do that for myself. So with that attitude, I think a lot of things really changed and it just got the better.
Better to a point where you were okay participating on a platform like Mr. Game. Like, that is a huge visible platform.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, to lighter stuff now. Why don't you tell our viewers about the current support system that you have, and a few things that you're thankful for?
Well, I think there is a lot of good work that is happening, in the community as well. For me, I believe that the community is coming together in various forms, various ways, and with this pandemic also that has really struck on, and it has, put a lot of people from the community at a lot of risk and a lot of danger. But I think we have been trying to really help them, support them, be it with peer counseling that is happening. Organizations are being a little more relaxed, and the fact that you're able to work from home gives you the opportunity and also the sigh of relief that not everybody is going to judge you for who you are. You can be yourself at your home. But it also has the other extreme wherein you have to be with your parents, and if your parents are homophobic or don't accept you for who you are, issues do happen. But I'm very optimistic with the fact that with the way things are happening, with the way things we're coming together as a community, though we have issues within the community. But I think as a community, when this pandemic struck, the amount of help and support that we provided to our fellow community people, and especially the transgender community people also, I think is very heartwarming to see and hear. And the stories of support as well has been really enormous. So I'm just seeing, things getting better. Yes, there is still a lot of work to be done. I'm not going to shy away from the fact and not, saying that there is no bad effects on what is happening. Yes, but there is a lot more better things also happening.
Your optimism, as usual. Throughout the interview, I think two things that have stayed constant is your optimism and the fact that you're saying we have to be patient.
Yes, because for me personally, I think we are not in a stage, to be honest, to run. Like, so for me, I always think of this as how can we take those small progressive baby steps to see a change? Because only when you are able to take those baby steps is where you can really start thinking to walk, and after walking, being confident enough to walk, then you can start running, right? And running also, you can't really do a 500-meter sprint or anything. You can just run, which is again like jogging, and then kind of, you need to go through levels. Yes, exactly right. So again, because the reason being is that you shouldn't burn out. This is a long, this is a I wouldn't say yeah, it is a battle which has to be fought long, right? So you need to have the energy, you need to have the patience, you need to have the fire also, because there's, again, with so much work that is happening, you tend to have your fire, or you don't have the fuel to go forward, because it can be very non-thankful job as well, right? So have the fire, take baby steps, and keep taking it, because I always see this as an opportunity where we are making a lot of progress. Though
Yeah.
it looks small, but I think we are really huge, and we need to continue with that, right? So for the long haul, and also get the other people ready as well. The current generation and the generations coming in the future need to be, equipped. So we need to be ready for that as well.
So, what are some things in your life that act as your fuel? Maybe some people who are your go-to for advice, or some people who you look up to. So, who are the fuel givers in your life?
For me, I think my very close friends, they're straight, and there are people from the community who know me in and out, right? My very good friends that I have, I think they're my go to people, my partner as well, and some friends that I have built over these years of, being out there and having conversations and all of that. So there are a few are my go-to people, but also at the same time, I do reach out to my counselor, my therapist, that because it's very important to have, somebody who is completely out of all of this madness, and then, just sit through and talk to you and give you proper advice and proper direction as well.
Okay. That has been very insightful, Suresh. Thank you so much for taking out the time and telling our viewers to be patient and to fight the long fight, but to endure it well.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.